you, John, Adam, Paul, and myself. And we have a special guest, Ram Katamaraja, who is the CEO of a couple of companies that are using AI big time, and also in data analytics. That's where the company started. So, and training. Okay, welcome, Ram. And we start with...
Thank you, Luda. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. We first with the first article. Hold on a second. Let me get it here. And the first article is a description of a project Vend from Anthropic that actually asked Claude to run a small shop. And why does it matter? It's a fascinating experiment. John, what did you think about that?
Yeah, I was between optional and important in this one. I thought it was really interesting. They had, basically the model try to run a store. There are a lot of people saying, oh, this will be the year when we'll have a robot run billion-dollar company. It's like, well, maybe take a little longer than we think. So in here, I thought it was really interesting about how the robot had the ability to order, to choose what kind of products to restock, to deal with customer service and so forth. And it was, it did some funky, weird stuff. Like one of the things it did is that they had somebody mentioned they like titanium cubes, and all of a sudden it was supposed to be a snack vendor, and the physical location had, was like a fridge inside Anthropic, and now it started to go in and start to order. You can see the metal cube right there. Yeah, starting to order metal cubes. So it showed autonomy still needs context. We're in the early days. I gave it as potentially important because it's just the first step on what I think will be, fully contained agentic behavior, or at least mostly contained agentic behavior as it understands context. So I think I'm going to give this one an optional, but just barely. Could be important.
Okay. Optional to important from John. Adam, what did you think?
I was in a similar place. I think I would lean towards important just because it doesn't mean they have to read it, but it at least draws it up into that level of awareness above an optional piece of news. It is a signpost to a degree of the direction things are going. And I think, as John said, that's why it is important. It's for people to get a sense of where things are trending, and also the very stark landscape of how far it still needs to go really to be able to do that is an important insight. So I would probably land on important.
Okay, great. Ram, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel this is a important one, especially there is a lot of talk about fully autonomous systems, and also there are experiments online running like digital businesses fully autonomously. I think yesterday, like a couple of days ago, I saw a Medium article where they said they were able to run it's not fully autonomous, but it's a fully digital one, where they generated $500 revenue in first month by selling templates. So, and this is like even taking further that how do you integrate AI to run a physical shop, right?
Okay.
It's where it is trending, and this also it's almost like that Google first experiment about identifying an image, right? So it's a sort of kind of, I felt that sort of moment where this is indicating where when we are talking about agentic AI, it's a combination of where humans and AI can work together. It shows that trend. So it's an important for leaders to kind of keep in mind as they design their systems, that they're not only designing for digital systems, but also physical systems.
Okay, thank you, Ram. Okay, Paul, we're going important. Objections?
No, I would just highlight that I think it's really important for the AI lead to understand where the frontier is for fully autonomous agent systems. And we have fully autonomous agent systems today in production in these deep research tools. So that's one example of multiple agents taking agency. This is an example that's beyond the frontier possible with reliability because it's got a whole physical thing here, but it's good to know where that edge is.
Yeah, and the fact that the system didn't do very well in terms of money generation, almost ran out of business when it got very
Luda, that precipitous drop there is when it decided to buy all those metal cubes.
All those metal cubes, right?
It just sort of came off the rails at the end.
Yeah. It's also interesting that at the end it had an identity crisis. It decided that it wanted to be a physical person with a red with a blue tie or something, and then it came out of it on April 1st. So it was a weird, they still didn't figure out what happened, but it's just a signals to the leaders who will be experimenting with this, what can happen and what to look out for.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are missing two really important points. One is when you have a rich context, you can use lots well articulated with semantics and syntax. You can have a very aggressive use of agents, just like a financial trading. What is program trading but agentic trading, right? And then the other thing is that the epistemology in these things, as they've gotten complex, the fact that they can be quote unquote, if we want to call it self-aware, they can at least be self-referential. I'm fine calling it self-aware from a machine standpoint. Become self-aware, and they have robust enough epistemology so they can carve out a reality, if you will, and stick themselves in it from a symbolic standpoint, which is what I think is going on here with the tie. And anyway, for me, I just continue to be surprised at the kind of the naivete of the understanding of context and financial markets as well as epistemology.
Yeah, very, very interesting article to think about many angles of the implementations of autonomous implementations. Good, important it is. Let's proceed to the next one. This comes from NVIDIA, and it talks about boost embedding model accuracy for custom information retrieval. And it's a case study, essentially. What did you think about this, Ram?
So one, I think it's somewhere between optional and important. One optional primarily because it's more of a product announcement. However, this is a good use case of what industry is facing now, as in more and more industry is moving from proof of concepts to adapting Gen AI as part of their systems. Information accuracy has becoming it's becoming a central point for all discussions and all testing and making sure the models are working right, that processes are working right. So this particular model provides a use case about increasing the accuracy for custom information retrieval. From that standpoint, I think it's an important use case to pay attention to, especially given the current context of where the implementations are.
Okay, important from Ram. Adam, what did you think?
Yeah, I could support important. I guess the interesting thing for me was for the most part, it felt a little more almost like a commercial for what you can do with Nemo by NVIDIA. It was them trying to demonstrate and it makes perfect sense. But when you have these really, really small fine-tuned models and they're trying to showcase that it can perform as well as a generalist, that's pretty apparent. But I think it is, to Rem's point, a good illustration of the advantage of it and how it can be leveraged in a use case. So it's worth paying attention to and considering.
Yeah, the results were quite good, right? Let me see. So they were able to use, as a result of really preparing the data very well, they were able to increase accuracy 6 times or something. And they actually reduce latency, but increase accuracy for the best otherwise model 16%, as you can see. John, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm okay with important. I don't think it's essential. There's a particular intuition here, which is customer service information should have a tremendous amount of redundancy in it. I met my wife when we were both on the customer service phones at Polaroid, and you hear similar things. So the fact of squishing down the data to the way I thought about it is figure out how much signal there is in the data, and makes sense. I did. It was a little, as you say, Adam. A little bit of a bumper sticker for the products, but I'm okay with important.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
If I may-
important. Yeah, Ram, you
So
want to?
if I may add, a lot of these agentic systems, especially the conversational voice and conversational AI is becoming prominent in situations like that. The transactionality of this conversation makes limited data more accurate, limited data, high quality data very important to train the system, because it's very transactional, very limited context, like John said, in the customer service and many other scenarios like that where conversational transaction. So there's no point in trying to train with too much of data. It's important to have high quality data.
Yeah, so my 6 time was the versus training time hours to the data curated hours. So this is the 6 time difference. Okay, Paul, what did you think? Important?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a product announcement, but important's fine.
Okay, important it is. Let's proceed to the next one. The next one is a long survey, but pretty comprehensive, of LLM-driven AI agent communication, protocols, security risks, and defense countermeasures. So they go through, for agents specifically, right? So they go through all of the different combinations. Here's the structure of the paper, right, of the survey. What did you think about this, Adam?
When I was first reading it, I was between optional and important, landed on important, and I'm borderline essential now as I continue to think about this. The other day we saw something about MCP, and it was some of the first I think research we've seen around the model context protocol as an agent system and what you can do in terms of the cybersecurity there, and we flag that as important. This just takes it to an entirely higher level. It certainly speaks to things like MCP, but also Google's A to A, which is the framework around MCP. So it's much more expansive. It's very thorough. And it really looks at 3 different components as well, which is the user to the agent interaction, the agent and the agents communicating with each other, and then the agents actually using tools and communicating within an environment. So it's really well done. For everything, I also appreciate that along with the protocol and the risks, they do discuss defensive countermeasures and what can be done. So it for anyone who's looking at building towards agentic systems, debatably, it could be an essential read. But it is also quite thorough and certainly something important news at a minimum.
Yeah, I was leaning towards essential, to your point, Adam, when I went through it.
Everything, I also appreciate that.
Yeah. John, what did you think?
They do discuss defensive countermeasures and.
I actually started an optional on this one as the compendium of risks and countermeasures. I'm usually not that big on survey articles that don't have a lot of other implementation in them. But what you say makes a lot of sense. I mean, and it is these are active worries now. As people are starting to implement some of the agentic protocols, MCP, 8A, and so forth. I could be convinced of at least important. You're talking your book, and I agree with it.
Well, see, this is the chart that I'm on, the figure 4. It actually puts it into the categories, communication categories, user-agent interaction, agent-agent communication, and agent-environment communication, and then highlights the communication timelines and then the security risks. And then, as Adam said, at the end, it goes through what you can do to countermeasure that. And that's quite comprehensive. Okay, Ram, what did you think?
So I think it's essential. Again, like I started with the optional. to it, but I think it's essential primarily because it's a important document for chief security officers or in general security team. And in enterprises, security products are usually bought from outside, so it helps to evaluate for them to evaluate these products while also adapting their internal policies. The policies are getting developed. This can be like one of those critical reads that can help them develop their policy templates to make sure that whatever the efforts that they are doing meets the security standards. And the protocols such as the MCP and ATA, these are new, and the idea behind these protocols is always how do you wrap security around them so that you have a unified communication and also secured communication. So this is a very good reading from that standpoint for the IT leaders and especially the security leaders, and make sure like they keep in mind while evaluating external products and also developing internal policies.
Okay, so Paul, we are talking ourselves into essential. What do you think?
I was a lot less. I mean, if you're a CISO and don't understand that MCP and agents are a risk and actively involved in your governance, I think you should be fired at this point here. But I do think though that we have talked about one of the AI leaders' roles is to make sure that their colleagues who are leading other departments are also getting the most current information here. So I think to Ram and others' point, this is at least a reminder that should be forwarded to your CISO, particularly because it's got countermeasures here. But hopefully all these countermeasures are being talked in planning, not agents actually happening.
If you surveyed the top 1,000 CISOs, how many of them you think would know what A to A is?
No, but
you're saying they should all be fired, but you're kidding yourself if you think they're up. This stuff is moving so fast, man. I mean, they probably are just figuring out that MCP is a thing and that they need to get their hands on it.
Yeah, no, I'm actually on the flip side, Adam. I think it should be fired if they're letting if things are going into production that have autonomous agents.
The risk isn't just in production, though. It's the shadow AI as well, and anyone putting it on their endpoint devices that are connected to their networks. Yeah. It's not just about production deployments. These have tremendous risks from all these.
Shadow IT, 100% agree, Adam. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Essential, Luda.
Essential it is. You've been talked into essential, Paul.
Yeah, Adam's telling me to give the CISOs a little more space. And,
all right, guys, we are going essential here. Yeah. I think it is critical for people to understand what the dangers are here. At least be aware. Okay, essential it is. Let's proceed to the next one. Okay, hold on a second. I'm not very. The next one is a 28 minutes read from Eugene Yan talking about evaluating long contest question and answer systems. That's actually a complex topic, so it warrants a long article describing it. It's quite comprehensive. What did you think about this, Ram?
I think it's a optional read for the leaders. However, it falls into the similar context of accuracy of the data, and there are long contexts as people are trying to process documents. The long context becomes important. However, the article is like so long, and it's not really covering any facts. It's more theoretical from the way I looked at it. There is not really any practical examples, or how do you so from that standpoint, I think it's optional.
Okay, optional from Ram. Any disagreements? Okay, silence. Optional. Let's proceed to the next one.
Actually, just before we leave that, his categorizations, I just don't think are that helpful. With helpfulness and what was the second one? It's helpfulness and factfulness or something. Fidelity.
Faithfulness and helpfulness.
Helpfulness and faithfulness. Yes. Anyway, I think if you're gonna,
It's comprehensive from the, when I said comprehensive, I thought the definitional side of it is pretty.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
look
yeah.
at
When you,
it from all
yeah,
kinds
when you
of
have,
perspectives.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Definitely, when you have to process long documents, I mean, it makes a very good case that a document doesn't necessarily give you the necessary context and accuracy that you need. It's just wrapped up with so much data that LLMs might start misinterpreting it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but what's the solution here, right? That's
Luda, one thing I thought was interesting, he used the term Q&A systems instead of chatbots, which I thought was novel. You don't hear a lot. It was certainly more descriptive in terms of what the user experienced, but I don't know what others had. The difference between a Q&A system and a chatbot, Ram?
I don't know. It's pretty much the same, isn't it?
Well, I think because this is about RAG systems, the context is really about retrieving an answer.
True.
Right. So it is specifically a Q&A function.
Fair. Yeah, and we're not creating answers yet. We're not brainstorming here. Good point, Adam.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one. The next one comes from, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Iconic U, I guess.
Iconic?
Yeah?
Just iconic?
I think it's
Iconic, you think? Okay. So this is a 2025 State of AI report, the Builder's Playbook. So the company itself is a wealth management company at its roots, managing the wealth of the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, and the like. And so they have 80 billion under management. And one of the groups they have is venture and growth. And that's the one that is authoring this article. What did you think about this, Adam?
Yeah, there's a lot to it, but I'd be hard pressed not to say this is essential. Luda, if you can bring up the actual, right there, it says download the full report. It was at the top of the section you were just at there. Yeah, download that full report and just go to the table of contents on it, right in the middle of the page. Yeah. But so this report was 300 executives at software companies, but they did these in-depth, just scroll down a little more to the table of contents, the in-depth interviews. And out of it, they made what they called this Builder's Playbook, and it is comprehensive. Every single one of those links you see there is like a insightful infographic. Like this thing is so information dense in so many different areas that everyone, I'm sure, is pretty much guaranteed to extract some value from it. Like you could take, so whether you're talking about building the products, the AI cost, how to organize, how to have the structure of your organization, the top tools, the different use cases. This thing is just deep and it is wide. And for anyone that's looking at building AI systems, they should have a look at what's going on in here.
And the summary is good also, right? So even if you go through this summary, I think it gives you what's happening at the top level, which is also pretty good. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, I agree that this is essential reading. I already forwarded it to a couple of our clients. Really nice work here. Lots, as Adam said, lots of different dimensions of where people are investing, how they think about it from a competitive standpoint. Just a really beautifully done report in terms of, I found it useful for anybody who is, certainly any vendors that are thinking about what they're doing and how they compare to others. But the other piece was, I think it's really important for the advanced adopters of generative AI and AI to understand the dynamics at the companies that are, up and coming, and how they're thinking about the market and investing, and what pressures they're feeling, because that supply base is what our sophisticated users are relying on, along with their own internal capability. So I definitely give it essential. Okay.
Essential from Adam and John. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, for me, one essential indicator is how many times I've forwarded an article even before the call. And this one I forwarded probably 15 private equity investors and CEOs. And I've got another 30 that I want to send to. So I think it's absolutely essential for investors and software companies, absolutely essential for CIOs. I think it's much less value outside that, but certainly essential for those.
Okay. Ram going essential. Any disagreement?
No, absolutely essential. And it's also an indicator for non-software executives, how they should be put in, probably looking at their AI investments as well. So it's definitely an essential read for
Okay.
all IT leaders.
Essential it is. Let's proceed to the last article, and this comes from OpenAI. Talks about a use case with a company called Unify, how Unify engineers growth by using the right model for every task. Ram, what did you think about this one?
This is
Oh, no,
a
it was
product.
John. I'm sorry, John.
This maybe for me was totally optional. This is what my grandmother called a lick and a promise. This is really not much of an article. Just talks about thinking about going to market as a search problem. Well, that's okay. That's one way to think about it. And then the ability to evaluate reasoning models for their their model for reason capability, but then it really doesn't give a lot in terms of what the evaluation does. So for me, this was redefining go to market around product fit. It's like isn't that what everybody does? So optional.
Okay, optional from John. Any disagreements?
No,
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I found like better YouTube videos on how to bring all the multimodals together. This is totally optional.
Okay, Adam, you wanted to add something?
I'll make a small case for why it could be important, although I was probably optional overall as well. And it's when it talks about the stack, including the three core components, and they lay out the observation model, the research agent, and then the copywriting. It's really basic, but for people who are trying to understand how agents work and why you would use an O3 model someplace or a 4.0 model somewhere else, or even that concept of people doing that, which is pretty core and foundational. This is a really clear illustration of a very simple example of, of course it makes sense. The one that's doing the observation is the one you want that has the reasoning. And the one that's cranking out the copywriting, that's the one you want that's more of the, this kind. So I found some value in it, but I'm not sure it was enough, honestly, to make it important.
Okay.
Because it doesn't go into any more detail about how you could build something like this yourself. So it was still quite light, but as an educational piece on conceptually the value of these different models, and why you'd want a multi-model system, there's something there.
Okay. Yes, thank you for highlighting that, but we'll go optional. Let's proceed to the scorecard. Adam, you have it, right? And Paul, John, any announcements?
Yeah, a couple announcements. One, I want to appreciate everyone online. Continue to like and subscribe. Our tickets go up at midnight tonight for our fall conference, GAI World. So if you want 40% savings, buy your tickets today before midnight Eastern. And lastly, our learning lab tonight, we have Mark from Invoice Cloud is going to be walking through his business case for getting approval for Copilot to roll it out as a secure employee chatbot. So we've really seen an uptick in companies looking to get a higher percent of their employees with secure employee chatbots, in part to fight some of that shadow IT. Another article, if you saw this weekend, Goldman just announced that they now have 100% of their 100,000 employees have access to their things. So buy your tickets today and join our learning lab.
Yes. Okay, so today we have 2 essentials, 2 importance, and the rest are optional. So great job, analysts. Thank you, Ram, for joining. Thank you, and thank you all the participants. We appreciate your comments. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.